Hey, thanks so much for finding the video. Do us a favor. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe. And be sure to leave your comment. We love to interact. Enjoy the video. Ed Orgeron was on the SEC Coaches Teleconference Wednesday, as he is each Wednesday, as is every coach in the SEC. And Coach O talked about handling this week mentally, coming off an embarrassing loss this past Saturday.
Yeah, I think he's motivated to do better, like all of us are. We have a 24-hour rule on Monday. We let it go, but obviously, it's going to linger with you until you win again. So, everybody's feeling the same way. We haven't lost there in a long time, but we want to get this taste out of them out and do better. So everybody took it upon themselves to do better.
It's going to help heading to Nashville this weekend if, in fact, LSU does have Derek Stingley Jr. with them in tow, because, of course, it helps when you have the best defensive player in college football playing for you and with your team, which they did not have this past weekend, which they should have this week in Nashville.
Yeah, they never came out with a definitive result of the test. I haven't talked to Jack, and if it is, we're not going to announce it anyway. But anyway, he practiced yesterday. He was in a gold shirt. I do believe that he should play. It's not conclusive yet that he's going to play, but I do believe he's going to play.
So Ed Orgeron there refusing to clarify or declining to clarify again what it was that ailed Derek Stingley that sent him to the hospital. His dad wouldn't elaborate on off the bench. Ed wouldn't elaborate today or on Monday. So that's something that, look, at the discretion of the family, if and when they want to release that information, that's up to them. But the good news is that it seems like whatever it was that caused Derek Stingley to have to go to the hospital, first-time event in his life and something that he appears to be over. Jacoby Stevens, when he met with the media yesterday, kind of spilled the beans that Derek was actually out of practice on Monday. So Ed initially thought that Stingley would be practicing Tuesday, but Derek did run around a bit with individual periods on Monday and then did participate yesterday, and we'd expect he'd be out there again today. So listen, Vanderbilt is playing a freshman quarterback who threw for 150 yards, a score, and 2 interceptions last weekend against Texas A&M. This is a huge, huge lean to LSU, especially if you have Derek Stingley out on the field. Ken Seals is the freshman quarterback from Vanderbilt who is going to see his biggest test. Like, he went on the road in week 1, and obviously that's significant, but A&M has had 3 defensive backs already opt out of this season. You put Derek Stingley Jr. on the field, and that's going to tilt the field a little bit. The other guy who Ed Orgeron updated is left tackle Dare Rosenthal. And Dare is a guy who we've talked a lot about this offseason. He didn't play a ton a year ago. He started a couple of games against the non-conference teams while Sadiq Charles was serving his 6-game suspension when they cherry-picked those games. And Dare started against Northwestern State and Utah State and had some good moments and some not great moments. Athletically, he's a very gifted guy, but really needs to come into his own at that position at left tackle. Well, late in the Mississippi State game, Dare Rosenthal looked like he hurt his shoulder while diving to make a block. I mean, that's sort of the speculation. They landed funny. And Ed Orgeron gave an update on Dare Rosenthal, and his status is still very much up in the air for this weekend.
Yeah, he did not practice yesterday. I don't know if he's going to practice today. We're going to have to see towards the end of the week, see if he's available. Right now, I list him as questionable.
Okay. Is Cameron Wire kind of behind him? Could you talk about
Cam Wire's right behind him. He started left tackle yesterday. And if Derek can't go, Cam's going to start.
So, Dare Rosenthal, remember, this is an interesting. This is going to be an interesting test case for LSU if Rosenthal can't play. Remember, one of the things we talked about an awful lot over the offseason, and I said this a bunch, so my hand's in the air. I said that I felt like LSU's first 22 were as good as anybody in the country. Now, obviously, then you have Jamar Chase and Tyler Shelvin opt out, and then Derek Stingley gets hurt, and you see the trickle-down effect. And the point I made was, look, I think LSU's first 22 are really good. The big question is, how good is the depth? If you have to go to your bench beyond that first 22, that's the big question mark. Well, you got the answer in the secondary on Saturday, and it wasn't good. I think those guys will get better, especially now knowing that Jay Ward is playing with a torn meniscus. Darren Evans wasn't even really expected to play. They had to throw him out there because Stingley wasn't there. Flott was working at nickel and then had to play corner because Stingley was. But you understand the point. When you don't have great depth, any displaced starter, and you have that trickle-down effect, and look at what happened on Saturday in the defensive backfield. So now here comes my question on the offensive line. Look, I like LSU's first offensive line. I'm not going to tell you I think that that's going to be the best unit in the country. Last year, they were far from the most talented unit in the country, but they played very well together, and Joe Burrow compensated for a lot of their deficiencies, and all together, it worked very well. This unit, Liam Shanahan's played a ton. Ed Ingram's played a ton. Austin Deculus has started nearly 40 games in his career. You really like Chasen Hines at right guard, physically gifted enough to play at this level. And then we just talked about there Rosenthal. The problem is, after that, you've got nobody with experience. You've got a couple of freshmen in Xavier Hill and Marlon Martinez. You've got a couple of redshirt freshmen, and one of them being, Cam Wire, who's I guess actually listed as a sophomore because he played in 6 games a year ago in a backup role. But the point is, you're looking at a situation where your next 2 guys are Charles Turner, who didn't play a snap last year, and Cam Wire, who played in 6 games but's never started. So if Dare Rosenthal can't go, now all of a sudden, at left tackle, after a shaky performance a week ago against Mississippi State at home, now you have to go on the road and face Vanderbilt. And you may laugh at Vanderbilt, and I wouldn't blame you for doing that in most years, but Vanderbilt is, if you notice this past week, Pro Football Focus, their college ratings rated Vanderbilt's defensive line as the best defensive line in college football for week 4. I mean, don't laugh or chuckle. They held Isaiah Spiller, the running back from Texas A&M, to 5 yards rushing in the first half. Now, in the second half, he got off a little bit. The first play of the third quarter was like a 57-yard run that he ripped off. But the highest graded defensive lines from week 4 in the Power 5, Vanderbilt was number 1, Georgia, Oklahoma State, Iowa State. So clearly the strength of that Vanderbilt team is their defensive line. Your offensive line didn't have a great day this past week, and now you're potentially down your left tackle as well. So it's also worth noting that Vandy linebacker Dimitri Moore didn't, and this Dimitri Moore was their leading tackler a year ago at 99 tackles. He initially opted out because of COVID, opted back in, but had a minor injury, did not play against Texas A&M. They are expecting him to play against LSU. So that boosts the Vanderbilt defensive front 7 as well. I'm not trying to scare you about Vanderbilt, but I'm trying to tell you, as we learn more about this team with LSU and their depth, we got an answer about the depth and the rotation Saturday in the defensive backfield. We may start to see it on the offensive line Saturday if Dare Rosenthal can't go. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.